let's just dive right into this fanfiction. Last time left off, we're the end of episode 4, season 1. Episode 4 was crazy because, well, to put it simple, the Robin, or this universe's version of Robin, the son of Darkwing in this universe, was able to pretty much stop Cecil Steadman from pretty much summoning or banishing dark blood out of pretty much, well, Earth, out of Earth's realm or something, back to hell. So, well, the Robin was able to stop him and also get out of there with dark blood. As we could switch to episode 5, and this is where more of the juicy part of the plot starts to really jump in, and this series will be ending off at about part 6 to part 5. We start off the episode basically introduced to a new character, Titan, as he would have been basically a rock type of villain, being able to shift his body and cover himself with rocks. The same villain, well, Invincible fought the very first time he went vigilante while fighting, as we would have seen him take down a group of thug type, individuals, and basically stopping the whole trade or something. I don't even know, but doing something like that. No, it's not really important to the story just yet, but we get hit with, well, Invincible having basically taken the world over like global, being the newest hottest hero, as he would have tried to pretty much make up things with Amber because he did miss a little bit of their date. So basically he's just trying to make everything better. Now we would see that Titan would have saved some people from a burning building, but basically asking for cash though. Now we would get switched to a couple other villains being pretty much bodied and taken down by Mark. Basically his heroing stuff happening left and right, as eventually he would have quit his job, as we would see that Mark would have just been continuing doing his thing, being taught the heroing stuff from his father and other things such as that. But eventually he would have been called, well, to Cecil Steadman, as he would have talked to Cecil for a little bit. The story not really changing that much, but it just being that little type of scene, but him also being called in for, or basically stopping a type of robbery, as it would have been Titan basically breaking in to a nearby area or nearby facility, grabbing something from there, a chip of some sorts, as he would have left there, basically having the guards just make them shoot the sky or make them shoot the, well, air, because, well, they have to at least show that they tried, as they all shoot up in the air, letting Titan walk past them so they don't want to get, bodied or ripped apart by the superhuman. As this would have been all happening, as Mark would have shown up there later in this version. Now it would have been Jonathan that would have met up with, well, Mark later that day, as Mark would have gotten a text from Amber, but him basically being interrupted by, well, Jonathan, as Jonathan would have taken down the, well, villain that was hitting Mark with all those things that weren't really phasing him, since Mark is, well, invincible. Now we get switched to, well, the main villain of this episode. Machine Head gets the chip from Titan, as he basically, well, gets what he needed, or gives him money, but he says that Titan works for him, and that basically the story starts to take a little bit of a twist, as Titan is getting into a little bit of trouble with Machine Head now. Machine Head being a little bit cocky in himself, and also basically having a little bit of an altercation with Titan. Now, basically after that, we can switch to another part of the scene, as we can switch to a little bit of actually Superman teaching Jonathan a little bit of something. As Jonathan and Clark would have been on Mars, as they would have been on another site of it, as they wouldn't really noticed anything happening on there, as they would have been teaching and also training, as Mark would have been on the other side, or basically near Earth's atmosphere, basically training with his father, and learning how to stop meteorites and other things such as that. As what would happen is, well, Jonathan would have learned a lot more about his abilities and a lot more of his limitations and powers, as Jonathan would have been told a lot more and taught multiple tricks and tips in fighting from his father, and being taught one single trick from their Kryptonian abilities that would teach them a very essential part of their strength that would help them win basically any fight if they're going up against somebody really strong, that worked against him and a couple other villains he fought, like Darkseid. as well Clark would have told or taught Jonathan one single hit, as he would have been telling him this hit that will be, pretty much jumping into that single trick or pretty much training he did later on in the show, and it would become a lot more of an essential part of the story. As we were seeing pretty much Mark doing a little bit of studying with, well, Amber, and also talking to her. As we see their conversation or their relationship is kind of going a little bit weird, but we're not really going to be focusing more on that because I freaking hate Amber. I hate her. I don't know why. I just hate her whole story and her whole character in this series. But we can switch to Titan going back home, as he would have been pretty much welcoming his son and his daughter and his wife, as they would have been basically just having a blast or having a little bit of a talk, as we would have seen Titan's personal life and everything going on with superheroes and other things such as that. As we see him have a talk with his daughter, as he would have been watching Mark take down some sort of pretty much elephant type monster or villain. As we would see Betty would have came across dark bloods, notebook or something. It's some sort of complicated word, but I'm not gonna say notebook, as she would have been looking at it, as she would have stopped looking at it, putting it behind her back, as Nolan would have walked into the room, as Nolan would have talked to her about a little bit of a date, or maybe going to Italy or something, I don't know. But we could switch away from that to mainly Jonathan's part of the story, as Jonathan would have been pretty much, thinking harder and harder about what's going on, as Jonathan would have got a little bit of a call from a mysterious number, as he would have been leaving school at the time, as he would have picked up the phone, as he would have looked at it being an unmarked caller, as it would have been the Robin, as the Robin would have called Jonathan, saying that I need your help and to meet him at this location, as Jonathan would have been very much confused, but not really wanted to tell his father since he thought he could handle this on himself. So he flew down there, as he would have flown to like a desert area, actually, basically looking around, as he would have been caught off guard by the Robin, as he would have been very much confused on how a human could sneak up on a Kryptonian. But the Robin says I'm been trained from Darkwing, and also trained by other people around the world. I'm very much a master in stealth. But anyways, I want to tell you something. As he would have said, what are you telling me? Why'd you call me here? As he would have said, I need to tell you something very important about Cecil, about Omni-Man, and about everything that's going down, about the death of the Guardians of the Globe and everything that happened. It's very crucial, and I need you to know this. As we could switch from their conversation, as we could switch to basically, Eve and her father having a little bit of conversation, as Eve would eventually, leave and move out of the house, as she would have been done with their, bull. As we would switch to Mark, basically going over to Titan, as he would have had conversation with Titan, eventually thinking about helping him with his situation, as he would have helped him with the situation, being told about everything that's going on with basically Machine Head and everything happening with the whole more thug and more of the street type crimes in the city that aren't really big superhero stuff for Omni-Man or other heroes to deal with. Just Guardians of the Globe and more street type heroes like Darkwing and the Robin aren't really focused on the streets. As Robin would have dropped off Titan to his daughter's school, as he would have been kind of touched, trying to think maybe he should help him out. As he would have asked his father about this, as his father said, we're superheroes. We deal with bigger threats than just crimes, and he's probably just trying to trick you. As he's going on and on about this, they him having a little bit of an argue or disagreement, as they would eventually stopped right there. As we could switch to basically, the new Guardians of the Globe, basically, prizing themselves that they did a pretty good mission. But as Black Samson would have been talking to the group, saying that they messed up and botched the whole mission, as multiple people were hurt, civilians were killed, and people were hurt very badly. Multiple civilians lost in the wreckage of the fight, and them having basically wrong priorities in the whole mission. them being a sorry excuse for the new Guardians of the Globe, as Rex would have been kind of a, well, douche the whole time, a dirtbag, as he would have been pretty much just being a little bit of a jerk. Him saying the whole time that it's nothing too serious, as in the whole conversation started taking a real of a argue type of tone. But eventually, Robot would have seen something going on with, well, Monster Girl, as we could switch back to the Grayson household, as they talk, and the story goes very much exactly the same like an original. But something does change, something that really makes up the story and really changes it a lot. Now, what happens after that? We could switch to, well, Mark talking to Eve and, well, pretty much Amber, as he would have also been interrupted by Jonathan, as Jonathan would have called Mark, basically being confused, as he would have said he had to go, as he would have flown off, eventually landing in a somewhere area, meeting up with Titan, as he would have been acquainted by Jonathan, as Robin would have also been there, as Robin would have been there basically helping out Titan, as he would have heard about Titan's whole thing that was going on with Mark on the security cameras around the city, as he would have had a lot of ties to the city and big friends in big places, as he would have wanted to help them out with the street crime, and also him wanting to help them out because he's been on Machine Head's tail for the longest, trying to get him in a very much of a big legal type of problem, trying to put Machine Head behind bars permanently. Now, basically what happened is Titan would have accepted all three of their help, as Titan would have been a lot more confident in his ability or their team or little group to take on Machine Head and his well, pretty much rally and basically take down everything. But him not really understanding the real big threat of the whole thing. But after that, we could switch to, well, the twins, the Merler twins, if I said it right. As, well, the Merler twins would have been done, or the twin would have been done with cloning his other twin, being able to, well, remake his twin and, well, replicate his brain in that other twin. As eventually, you can switch away from their story, as they would have been before their story being ended off in that episode, them also being, well, pretty much told by Robot that they needed a clone body. Robot needed a clone body for himself. As, well, they would have given him blood. He would have given them blood to do the training or do the cloning transformation. As we could switch to Debbie and Nolan having a little bit of a talk, as we would have been switched away, and basically us seeing that little bit of the story of Debbie doubting her husband and thinking he's the one that killed the Guardians of the Globe. Her being very much confused on what was going on. But what happened is she would have done a timer, seeing how long it took, well, Nolan to do his flight, to see if her timing was correct, and also her checking the whole house for his suit and seeing where the DNA was and seeing if she could test the suit. As she would have found out what the suit was, her seeing it all bloodied up, as she would have, well, hit it, basically seeing Nolan there, as she would have welcomed her husband, but her being very much suspicious about him. As we would have switched back to Mark, Jonathan, the Robin, and Titan's story, as they would have snuck in there, or maybe not really snuck, but basically botched up in there, all four of them, basically jumping up in there. As they would have seen Machine Head would have been nonchalant about the whole thing, him saying that his new chip made him think 10 times ahead. As he would have looked at Mark, him saying, you shouldn't have hit my table. That's more expensive than your little suit there, buddy. And as he would have started to, well, talk the same way originally, as he would eventually call in his lackeys or his goons. As we were going to switch to basically us being introduced to a bunch of other people, like some sort of lava type dude, or a dude that makes tentacles out of his hand, and Battle Cat. And this Battle Beast, bro, this man's a menace, but we ain't gonna get into that just yet. As we would have seen all four of them get held up together, being ready for the fight of their life. As we could switch to the fight, as they would have gone down, as Mark would have started to make a big impact in the fight alongside Jonathan, as Jonathan and Mark would have started to fight all around the room, as eventually Jonathan would have thrown a punch towards Battle Beast. As Battle Beast would have dodged the punch, grabbing Jonathan by the arm and chucking him into the ground, pummeling him down to the ground, making him bleed. As Jonathan, in the first very time of his life, feeling the most pain he's ever felt. As he would have flew out of the way, him flying out of the building, flying back down on the Battle Beast and punching him dead in his jaw. As Battle Beast would have been slightly phased, being surprised, and saying, Kryptonians. Strong. As he would have grabbed Jonathan from the face and chucked him so hard down to the ground, hitting him or throwing him so hard that he basically falls straight down through the whole building on the first floor. As he flies back up, being kind of beaten down, as eventually he would have fought against Battle Beast. As the fight would have not actually taken a big toll, but the fight actually really being more interesting, making Mark and Voltaire not be that, pretty much beaten down that bad. As they would have started to fight again and again, but eventually Jonathan would have been overpowered by Battle Beast. Eventually Robin would have been subdued by the Tentacle Dude, as Jonathan would have been also subdued as that dude. Mark would have also been subdued by that dude as well, as he would have been filled with rage, as he would have flew around the building, taking out the tentacle guy, throwing him into a wall, and punching a hole through, the lava dude, as he would eventually fly all around the building, but him being slapped down like a freaking fly by Battle Beast, him being pummeled down by Battle Beast, as Battle Beast would have bodied him and Jonathan, as Jonathan would have gotten up on the ground, as he would have been using his laser vision, pretty much lasering straight through the electricity dude, as he would have basically started to go crazy, as the fight would have taken a big toll, as Battle Beast would have started to go crazy, as he would have still overpowered or knocked the absolute soul out of Jonathan with a straight, literally mind-crushing type of hit, as Jonathan and Mark would have been bodied by Battle Beast, both of them being hit down to the ground like freaking sack of potatoes, them both bleeding very badly. As eventually, we've seen Jonathan get up, trying to fight up against Battle Beast, but Battle Beast grabbing Jonathan and literally stabbing a hole through his chest, through his stomach, as he would have thrown down into the ground, as everybody would have been shocked. As everybody, and also, pretty much the Guardians of the Globe would have shown up late with Rex, pretty much Monster Girl and Robot showing up, as they would have all fought against everybody. As eventually the fight would have taken a big toll, as it would have been explosions, buildings being crushed around them, and other things such as that. As what would happen is, the electricity guy was able to heal himself with some sort of electricity or energy type of abilities, as he would have been pretty much, Machine Head of all things would have been very much pissed about everything happening, as his whole freaking lobby would have been destroyed, as it would even cost him more money to get it fixed and even paying these guys or these villains for their services. As pretty much, Monster Girl would have been overpowered by the electricity dude, as Duplicate would have been overpowered as well, as the fight would have had a big type of just everything going south, as pretty much Black Samson would have been overpowered as well. Battle Beast taking the biggest pretty much blow on this whole fight, as Battle Beast would have knocked the absolute dust out of Robot's body, as Robot would have been bodied, as eventually the Lava Dude would have been taken down by Rex, but at the last second Rex did figure out the Lava Dude could just regenerate, so it didn't really matter. So the fight was going very one-sided. Battle Beast taking down everybody, as Shrinking Ray would have been bodied as well, as everything would have started to take a big toll. As Jonathan would have seen Shrinking Ray on the ground, as he would have tried to pretty much trying to get up as much as possible, trying to stop Battle Beast from getting close to Mark, as Mark would have started to crawl away, as he would have been about to get hit with Battle Beast's axe. As Battle Beast was about to hit him, as Jonathan tried to grab the attack, but Battle Beast looking at him saying, pitiful, as he would have shooken off Jonathan's hand off of the mallet, basically making Jonathan, get hit dead in the freaking face, as Jonathan would have been collapsed, him having the last bit of strength in his body left, as Battle Beast would have still continued to literally straight up hit the absolute dog water out of Mark, as he would have seen Mark dead on the ground, as Mark would have been bodied, as Black Samson would have tried to fight pretty much, Battle Beast with his bare hands, as Battle Beast would have bodied Black Samson, absolutely demolished the man, bro. Threw him like a sack of potatoes. As Monster Girl would have been bodied, but her getting a little bit of strength left in her, basically going up against Battle Beast, but Battle Beast knocking the absolute soul out of her as well. Battle Beast being literally the god of this whole fight. Like, literally, no one could take this man out. So, Battle Beast bodied, well, Monster Girl, as everything would have been kind of a one-sided fight. As, well, Monster Girl would have been bodied. Like, literally, I'm surprised she wasn't dead. As Robot fought against Battle Beast, making a big dent on his body, as Battle Beast would have seen that the Kryptonian Robot really did a big mark on him. As he would have said, challenging. The only people that really had a fight against me was the people that you thought that were strongest. But look at your people. Look at your fight. You've lost. As Rex says that's enough, as they all get up from their attacks, as the villains are all overpowered. But Battle Beast says it's enough as he dips out of there. As we would have seen, basically, the team take down all the other villains very easily, basically working all together as a team, as eventually everything would start to go one side for the villains, them being taken down pretty fast. As well, the lava guy would have been bodied, and everything in the fight would have gone one side, but Mark being absolutely bodied on the ground, bloody and messed up alongside Jonathan. Jonathan being completely and utterly just like unfazed, but pretty much actually would have ran towards Jonathan, trying to comfort him, as Jonathan would have been still conscious, but losing a lot of blood very fast. As Monster Girl would have been very much attacked, and very much in a lot of critical damage, as pretty much Machine Head would have get bodied by Rex, as Jonathan would have tried to wake up, trying to get up, but Shrink Ray saying that's enough, that he needs to rest and he needs to stay still, as Jonathan would have been very much just bloody and beaten up beyond belief. The same thing with Mark, as Mark would have looked very much not invincible, as Titan would have left, basically Jonathan and Mark feeling betrayed, especially Mark, as Mark would have been coughing up blood. As we get switched back to pretty much the food center, as we were seeing Eve and Amber just doing their thing, being on more of a common setting. But as getting switched back to Cecil and their medical team showing up, helping pretty much Black Samson and everybody else with everything going on. As eventually Sully would have shown up with Mark being very badly injured alongside Jonathan. As Superman would have shown up on the scene, as he would have looked at his son being petrified, him looking at his son and trying to comfort him, saying that he needs help now, as everybody would have started to move very fast. But Machine Head being, pretty much not destroyed, but pretty much his chip being taken out of his mind, as Machine Head would have been bodied very fast. As we would see Mark and Jonathan would have gone out of consciousness. As before he went out of consciousness, Jonathan and Mark saw Omni-Man from afar, especially also Clark as well, as Clark would have been very much confused on what was going on. Why did Mark's father, why did Omni-Man not fly down? As he would have been very much confused, but Jonathan, basically being bloody and all those things he is, basically Clark was not going to leave his son for a second, as he would have yelled for more help and people to come to his rescue. As no one would have shown up there, as he would have been told by Debbie that, Mark was in a lot of trouble, or not a lot of trouble, but he was in critical condition, as Superman would have shown up at the house telling Lois that Jonathan was in critical condition, as she would have said, what? As they would have rushed towards the medical center where, Cecil was and where all the other soups were. Now we would have seen basically the building be covered in blood and the fight basically demolishing the whole office area Machine Head was at. But Titan being the new head of the crime there now, basically it being one-sided. Now, while I didn't mention the Robin throughout the whole fight, Robin was out for the count the whole fight. I ain't gonna lie to you. Robin was bodied the whole fight. Halfway through the fight, with the same thing that happened with Black Samson, basically what happened is Battle Cat was able to basically one-shot Robin for the whole fight, as Robin was basically pimp slapped like a sack of potatoes down to the ground. He was able to get a lot of strength left in him for him to dip out of there before the medical service or Caesar can show up, so he wouldn't be caught or anything. So pretty much the Robin wasn't there, and he wasn't really hurt that badly. A few broken bones and also a lot of internal bleeding, but him being helped with their version, or Darkwing's version, of Alfred. As we would have been switched to basically some sort of high-tech, science facility underneath the medical center for the Supes, basically thinking about and also testing literally possibly every single thing on Earth to try to damage, Vulturemite DNA, as they would have tried everything on Mark Grayson's blood, as they were trying to figure out what they could do. Now I'm gonna leave it up here, guys. Now I hope you guys enjoy the what if. Now, episode 6 will be a lot of a big thing, because it's gonna be a lot more of a big standing point, because Jonathan and his injury will push Clark to become a lot more of a bigger crucial part of the story, and basically him becoming a bigger threat towards the entirety of the whole show, as Jonathan would have been the biggest turning point throughout the show, for now at least. Now I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day. Deuces.